Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us in on a Sunday morning. Yeah. Welcome, everyone, to Salesforce Women in Tech Group Kolkata. We are super thrilled to announce our bootcamp and start a bootcamp, the Service Cloud Consultant Certification Bootcamp. Today is day one. Not wasting much of the time, a very quick introduction about me. My name is Khyati Mehta. I am the group leader of Salesforce Women in Tech Group Kolkata. I am proud to be called myself as Salesforce Marketing Champion. Professionally, I work as a Salesforce developer at Cognizant Technology Solutions. I am 4x Salesforce certified. Apart from this, I also have DevOps knowledge, hence I am 2x Copado certified, 1x Flossin professional certified. I love to give back to the community and meet as many as people I can, hence I am a blogger and as well as a speaker. You can connect with me over LinkedIn and Twitter. I try to stay active over there and help as many people as I can. So the agenda of the boot camp is what I have done is I have planned this boot camp as in to help everyone, and this boot camp is divided into 6 days. Each session will be taken as in 2 topics. So 2 topics will be considered in each session. For today, we are going to take certification overview that is taken by me, and industry knowledge, which is 10% of the exam, will be taken by our speaker, Megan Brodke. Day 2, which is interaction channels, will be taken by Joey, and knowledge management will be taken by Ranjini. Implementation strategies will be taken by Neha. Service Cloud Solution Design will be taken by Anand. Case management, that will be taken by Meera, and contact center analytics will be taken by Johan. Integration and data management will be taken by Doria, and service console will be taken by Hosam. At last, I have also curated a Ask Me Anything session for any doubts that have been left throughout the bootcamp. So I am sure everyone is waiting for the slides. So we and APIans have created a number of prizes for you guys. So there are some mandates to win these prizes. You need to follow Salesforce Bit group on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and all the community pages that are available. You also need to follow Appians on all their social media platforms. You have to RSVP and attend all the 6 days of the bootcamp. Apart from this, just try to stay active and share your learnings over LinkedIn and Twitter. If you share your learnings, don't forget to tag us and our sponsors over LinkedIn and Twitter, and use hashtag with Kolkata, with Bootcamp, and Trailblazer community. So I'll just brief a little about all the contests that we are going to take for this bootcamp. So there will be 3 to 4 questions uploaded daily after the session on Salesforce with LinkedIn and Twitter page. All you need to do is just follow the session and jump over to LinkedIn and Twitter pages and answer these questions, which will be based on the session. And there will be some fun questions and fun activities. Don't forget to tag us and use our hashtag. So these are the mandates. You can also post about key takeaways from the session and tag us, and also use the hashtags mentioned. So there is one contest which is of the question sides. The second will be of the key takeaways. The third would be posting a video of you stating about all your learnings and what you like the best about the session. So 6 days have 6 videos, and 6 winners will be chosen from there. You can also match treat and share all the learnings, all the key takeaways from the session. Spread awareness about the bootcamp. Stay active throughout the bootcamp. So you never know when you end up winning our awesome swag kits, certification vouchers. We also have Amazon vouchers. So we have a couple of prizes. Just stay active, spread awareness, and that's all. Service Cloud Consultant Certification Bootcamp is sponsored by APIans. Thank you, APIans, for sponsoring this event. And we have Piyusha Pilania from APIans who will enlighten us more about the company. Over to you, Piyusha.
Thank you, Kathy. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to join you all today. And thank you, Kathy, for inviting me. We're delighted to sponsor this event. just a quick overview about Affians. We are just registered Salesforce partner. We work with many different organizations. Some are in the slide, as you can see. We have a 5-star rating on App Exchange so far. Yeah, it's really good space to be in because Salesforce is progressing so much, and we're excited to be a part of the community and to share it all with you guys. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Piyusha. Thank you, Apians, for sponsoring this event. We are sure it's gonna be a bang. So for
Absolutely.
now, yeah, thank you. For now, day 1 speaker is Megan Brodke. I'm sure everyone knows her. We all love her. She is Salesforce MVP. She is also a Tech Arc delivery manager. She is also a Bit user group leader and the famous Ohana Slack founder. We are super excited, and she's gonna take the day 1, which is industry knowledge, 10% of the exam. Uh, Before passing it on to Megan, let me just cover up the certification overview. So the certification consists of 60 MCQ questions, and there are 5 non-scored questions. So in total, you'll have a 65 number of questions, in which 5 would be non-scored, which of course you won't be able to know, but 60 from them will be marked as in your exam. So the time allocated for this exam is 105 minutes. The passing score is 67%. The registration fee is $200. In case you fail this exam or you want to retake this exam, there will be a fees of $100. To give this exam, Service Cloud Consultant Certification exam, the prerequisite is being a admin certified. So this is something about the exam that I have covered. Over to you, Megan. The stage is yours.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be here. And my camera thing. There we go. Really excited to be here and happy to be able to talk with all of you about Service Cloud. So I have my deck here and ready to share. Let me pull that out. And we can jump right on in. So to get started, and I'm going to turn off my camera while I'm presenting so it doesn't slow down or cause a lag. So jumping in and going straight into Service Cloud. So talking about industry knowledge. As stated, industry knowledge is about, well, first, we're going to go through an introduction. We'll do an overview of industry knowledge on the exam. We'll do a deep dive of each one of those sections. We'll do a summary, and then we'll have some Q&A. So about myself. So I have about 15 years of experience with Salesforce. I'm a technical architect and delivery manager at Accenture. I currently have a podcast called System.Debug, available on YouTube and iTunes. I have a blog, meganrockssf.com. I also have 12 certifications, and I am currently preparing for my CTA boards, which I hope to take within the next year. I also run a Salesforce Saturday for Road to CTA. I'm the founder of Ohana Slack. Thank you so much for the props. Where we also have a channel for a virtual study group for Service Cloud. And we also have a Service Cloud channel to ask and answer any questions about Service Cloud you might have. I run Women in Tech Seattle for the user group. I am on the Dallas Developer User Group board. I'm a Maravis coach and mentor. I volunteer with Pep Up Tech, helping get more minorities and less represented people into technology, such as women who we have much smaller numbers. I'm a 7-time Dreamforce speaker. I've spoke at Connections. I've gone to 11 countries for community events that were run by the Ohana. I'm also a Salesforce MVP, and you can find me on Twitter at MeganSF, and then you can also find me on LinkedIn. So to get started, as stated, industry knowledge is about 10% of the exam questions. And to me, when I first saw this, I was very curious. I was like, what does industry knowledge mean? I totally drew a blank. And when you take a look at the exam guide, they tell you you're looking at your factors that influence your key contact center metrics. To me, when I saw that, I was like, I still don't know what that means. Somebody's got to help me there. And then your KPIs and your business challenges. I do know what the key performance indicators were for Service Cloud. And I definitely knew some of the business challenges we had. But that whole key contact center metrics, I was drawing a blank. So we'll dig into that. We'll also go over some of those KPIs, and we'll touch lightly on some of those business challenges. You'll also have to go through some of the use cases and the benefits for different interaction channels. You have a number of different ways to connect with Service Cloud. And for me, when I was studying for these, determining what is that list of different channels, and then making little tables to help me go through and find out pros and cons, and kind of comparing each interaction channel. And we'll take a look at some of those tables as we go through. And then also making sure that you compare and contrast different types of contact centers and their business drivers. That would be your help desk, your product support, telesales, service, your field service, and your depot repair, your B2C and B2B. And so this is where it starts to come a little bit more clear about what are contact center metrics. Those would be your metrics to have a help desk, your metrics to have and support product support. Same with telesales, same with service. And then one of the largest parts of your industry knowledge is, what are the benefits of having a knowledge base? Knowledge is a huge part of Service Cloud, and it's definitely part of the exam that you're going to want to pay attention to. The industry knowledge section covers what are the benefits, but as a whole, throughout the bootcamp, there'll be others that talk to you about knowledge as well, and getting into the more technical side. So those key contact metrics, as we said before, those contact centers are your help desk, your product support. So when we're looking and trying to decide what are some of those metrics and items that we would need to be tracking, we're going to be tracking how long does it take to get a resolution? How many times do we get a first call resolution? How long does it actually take for a phone call as a whole? How long does it take to sit on hold before you get an answer? How long are you in that queue? How long does the representative work with you? All of those items come into play when you have a call center, and making sure your customers have a good experience is extremely important. So that's where we have our average handling time. Those number of calls or cases that are handled. Is an agent being productive? So we'll take a step back, and I'm going to tell you a extremely short story. Once upon a time when I was in college, so before I found Salesforce, I actually worked in a call center, and I had the dreaded job of being a telemarketer. That's right. I called everybody during dinner to ask if they wanted to upgrade their cable. And it was horrible, but it was my first job. And when sitting there and making all of those calls, there were times when you would get frustrated and you would go, I need 5 minutes without a call. So you take your phone and pull it so that you wouldn't get calls from the queue. And that would be, affecting you by reducing the number of calls that you were handling, because you were reducing the amount of time that you took calls from the queue. Also, by taking yourself out of the queue, more people were then taking less people were taking incoming calls. If you were one of the inbound call representatives, that meant that people had longer wait times, because the way that we were distributing calls instead of the call volume, was based on the number of reps that were supposed to be on the phone. So that would affect our wait time. And wait time is huge in a call center. I know that I personally, when I wait on hold, it drives me crazy. Those companies that offer me the ability to get a call back so I don't have to wait on hold, I love them so much more. Thank you so much, T-Mobile, for giving me that option. But other places, they make you sit there and sit there. And those customers are probably not going to be the friendliest when they finally get a representative. And that would affect the customer satisfaction. How many of the customers are actually satisfied with their support experience? This is often done with a survey. If you were on the call with a support or with sales, and you are told, would you mind taking a survey at the end of this call for a one-question survey? That is often the customer satisfaction survey, and that's what those questions are going towards so that they can calculate their CSAT. Also, there's the cost per call. So all of these metrics together end up leading into the cost. The number of representatives they have to pay to be working, then how many customers are calling in versus how many people are actually taking calls, how many calls are being abandoned, what are these customers calling in for? All of these end up affecting what is the cost. Then when working with, for example, your telesales customer contact center, is there upsell or cross-sell? Same thing with retention. And sometimes customer service, when they help people, they're able to help them so well, they can sell back as well and say, I'm glad this was awesome. And I hate to relate this to television again, but it's the experience that I had firsthand. I'm so glad you had a good time and we were able to resolve your problem. How would you like to add HBO? And people would be like, you are such a fabulous representative. I would love to add HBO. And then you would get an upsell opportunity. And then you have customer retention. A lot of times customers are calling in because they're unhappy with their service or they want to cancel. In some situations, you can't help but to cancel them because they're moving from, let's say, one state to another state, and the other state is just not the same location and not the same company is going to be available. However, if you find out that they're moving and they just need to transfer their service, that can be a great way to save, as is giving them a deal. And perhaps it was COVID and things were just too expensive because of their financial situation. By offering them a discount, they were able to save that customer and get them to stay longer. So when you're thinking about your contact center and what are these metrics that really come into play? Think back to not only your experience for yourself, but your projects. When you spoke to your customers or when you built out reports, what were the priorities that you've had in the past that really stood out as must-haves for customers and projects that you needed to have for them to track? And when you are thinking about Service Cloud and those items, those would be anything related to the representatives or the phone calls coming in. Those are usually your key contact center metrics. You also have key performance indicators. The difference here is your key performance indicators are not so much related to your customers calling in, but more so the call center as a whole or individual representatives. So if it's more about a customer calling in and what happens to a customer, that's probably a contact center metric. If it's more about the representative or the business, so if it's about my actual statistics, how many calls do I handle per hour, or how is my score, or what is my revenue, what is the business's revenue, how many times was the issue resolved within one phone call. Those would be your key performance indicators. Some of these do cross over and they go to both. But again, if you're thinking about it for the exam, really think about what is it that the business needs and that the finance team or the executives are really going to want to report on. And for your contact center metrics, think about it as what are the sales managers going to want to report on? And then last but not least, we have our business challenges. We all know that all of the people that we work with are having some sort of challenge, and we are there to try to help them. Finding out what that challenge is and working from the why or the instead of the what is extremely important. When we have requirements that tell us, build a custom object, or we want you to create this solution we pre-planned for you, it's a scary situation. In my experience, those rarely go well long term when we get straight up requirements and don't really find out what the root problem is. When we find out the why, we end up discovering what is it that the problem is and how can our experience, building either as consultants or from prior jobs, and your customer doesn't have to be external. It could be the sales team if you're an in-house admin, or it could be the operations team. It could be finance, or if you are in consulting, it could be the company you are working with. But finding out what is that issue and why are they reaching out to you for help? It's not just because they need a report. They need that report for a reason. So if they're having high employee turnover, and they're trying to figure out the why are our employees leaving? What are the metrics that they need to look at for that? Is it because we have, discrepancies in commissions? Is it because we have a rapid fire and no ability to update cases after our phone calls come in? Uh, is it because our cases actually lead to representatives needing to have weeks of research versus being able to easily resolve them? Are customers satisfied? The way that this is often done is, that phone call, but also there are many ways to find out how does the customer feel. One of the large items that's going on right now that we often hear about, and I just spoke about these actually on Automation Hour because they're becoming one of my fast favorites, Einstein bots and the new options with chat. Putting in a Salesforce survey at the end of your chat to say, how did it go? Did this answer your question to your satisfaction? Can be a huge difference. And then you can figure out how to adapt. If you're often getting no, it didn't, you can find out, for example, is it because we're actually not answering the question? Or is it because of something such as the download for a transcript that they expected wasn't visible, but the representatives really are doing their jobs? So it's those little things about finding out the why and figuring out how to get to those metrics. Is it because we don't have revenue? Is it because their forecasting isn't going well and therefore people have unexpected lower commissions? And then is it about cost? Are we having to lower headcount? How is the team being affected? Are we able to keep the lights on? All of these end up playing a role. So that first part for the industry knowledge is really about reporting and knowing what are those different reports you need in Service Cloud and what do they look at. And again, this is not an extensive list. This is to get you to start thinking, and I would recommend that you take some time while you're preparing for your exam and start writing out a list of reports for yourself for what is it that in Service Cloud we would want to report on? What would that report be? And what information does that report actually give us? And with that, it's going to get you in the mindset that you need to be in to be able to keep going forward and to answer the questions from the exam. Even if it's not 100% a match to the exam questions, you'll be in the right mindset because you'll know how to do that industry reporting thinking. One of the next big things, and this is a large part of the industry knowledge area of those whole 5 questions, is your actual channels. And I mentioned, there are different ways to work on those channels. And for me, it's all about coming up with something that I can look at and either put into a flashcard or a Word doc or a table. You can tell I love tables. So when I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about the different channels we have, when we say channels, by the way, the channels are the different ways we're able to communicate with our customers as a service team. So, as a service representative, a lot of what we had just talked about was very related to the phone. We all know that people hate calling customer service because nobody likes to sit on hold. I'm a very big self service fan myself. I like to go and check and see if I can fix it. But if I can't, then I'm actually going to look for either a chat or a bot first. So when working on that website, you can have a web to lead form, or you can have a knowledge base. And in the website here, kind of highlighting that knowledge base. So yeah, is a knowledge base something that is difficult to set up? Where does that fall in the grand scale of things? And it's a low to medium. I mean, in terms of overall creating articles, giving them visibility, and posting them out. It can be more complicated, but the vast majority of time, we're going to be in my opinion, the low, medium to medium range. What type of urgency does somebody have when looking for a knowledge article? You know, they're probably a little bit less urgent than somebody that's picking up the phone and screaming and yelling and saying, "This is a 911 emergency. I need to figure out how to get my laptop on. I'm late for my call." They're not going to take the time to go and search for a knowledge article if the world is burning. And then efficiency. We hear a lot about, case deflection, about what can we do for, helping others help themselves, self-service. And, it's pretty efficient um, to work in knowledge. But the only way it could be truly efficient was if the customer knew exactly what they needed to use for searching and for finding things. So instead of being high, this is more of a medium. And then in terms of availability, you know what? A knowledge base is available 24/7 and you don't have to pay reps to be getting it. So you've got that nice win there of high availability by being around all the time. And for cost, knowledge is actually a pretty low cost. You just have to have the person making the articles have the license for it. The end users using knowledge don't need licenses. There's no true additional cost on top of your portals or communities to maintain knowledge on the customer side. So it's a pretty big win. Now again, this only stays low if they're not involving the agent and they're resolving these issues on their own. Once we bring an agent in, prices start to change. And then what are some of the advantages? You get to create a case from the website if needed. You know, so we're going to try for case deflection, but we could have, a webbed case form and allow people to create a case directly from wherever. We also get to do that search by ourselves, which is, like I said, one of my favorites. And second, articles are written once. You don't have to write an article for every single customer or every single search. When you think about a chat, that chat has to happen over and over again where you say those same words. Yes, we can use things like quick text. Conversations vary. So we're baking things once, the customer is going to search for it, and if they have to, they'll submit a case. But we're going to hope for case deflection. So complexity, urgency, efficiency, availability, cost, and advantages. Those are some of the main areas to highlight for the different channels. Now, you'll notice that I've gone through and I've actually planned out a few of these, and we don't have to go through every single one in depth, but I want to go through a couple more with you to just kind of do some compare and contrast. So We have social media. And I am sure um, at least somebody here, in addition to myself, because I know I am slightly known for something didn't work. I don't want to call. They don't have chat available. I'm going to post on Twitter so I can get a response right now because no company wants a bad name on Twitter. They do not want social media saying, your company did this and nobody cares. Why are you such an awful company? Okay, it's a little extreme, but why is your product broken? How do I fix it? And then all of a sudden somebody else comments, hey, mine did that too. Yeah, how do you fix it? Next thing you know, you've got a chain and it's going viral and everybody's curious. So most companies that are on Twitter, outside of some of the dinosaur companies that are out there, will respond pretty frequently and pretty quickly to a Twitter post. I can tell you that Uber, in my experience, and Postmates respond within 15 minutes. And they are on top of it and they will fix your issue. So, social media, how complex is it? You can set up social service with just the license and a quick setup. Everything declarative, no coding, no crazy integrations. What type of urgency do you have? Okay, if you're willing to do a post out there and you don't know how long it's going to take for a company to get back to you, you have some pretty low urgency. You just want to vent. And I know that's what I'm guilty of personally. How efficient is it? And that's a give or a take. So some companies, like I said, are very good at social responses. Others have just not caught on to the fact that that is the future, and that's where a lot of millennials and Gen Z are posting issues. So we'll go with low because so many companies haven't caught on yet. But if you are looking at, for example, a company that targets Gen Z or millennials, they're going to have a higher efficiency. For availability, this is going to be high. You not only have the option of having somebody that can respond on call with just a phone, but you can also have auto responses and let people know that you have a case that was created, have them DM back to you, have a human there, anything that you need. You have a variety of options that are available. And then the cost. So the cost is low if you are looking at no additional support team for social media support. So you've got to keep in mind those different options for whether or not you are actually having a team there or not having a team there do have an impact. Whether or not you have Service Cloud and whether or not you have social service, if you have social listening for Marketing Cloud, all of those end up having an impact. The next one. So we have the advantages. So what are some of those advantages to using social? So you can reach out to customers via social channels such as Facebook, Twitter, etc. So this is pretty cool. So I mentioned that I am a co-leader with Paul McCullum of the Road to CTA group. We also have a Facebook page. With our Facebook page, we're able to reach out to not only our followers, but potential followers. We also have chat set up on Facebook for people to ask. And with that, when they ask about our event, we're able to respond with our next upcoming event with auto response. So we can reach out to customers and respond to customers. We can also broadcast announcements and important notices. So that same Facebook group, every time we have a new session scheduled, we post it and it goes to a public feed to be available to everyone. Then we also have the ability to create a case from social media posts. So this one is very big for, and I'm going to go back to my own personal experience as the poster instead of the responder. When I tell Uber about how I got a late fee or I got a cancellation fee because I accidentally hit the button, but I meant to hit cancel, or I canceled because a driver that was 30 minutes away picked up my ride instead of the car that I saw 2 minutes away. They can make a case right away for me and get that reimbursement taken care of. And they're able to do this auto magically using Salesforce. You also can generate valuable insights about products and services. So, what does that exactly mean? So, this is where social service and social listening actually being a marketing cloud product, but social service being Service Cloud come into play. When you have social service going, you actually have it set up to listen for any time your company is mentioned on the social media streams that you do so choose. So you're going to wait to see if not only is Megan complaining about that $5 cancellation fee again, but you're also listening to say, is Megan talking about that awesome, delivery that she had from Amazon and she's loving her new roller skates? Or, is somebody else super excited because they finally got that product and it was something that had been on their wish list for a while? And by doing these, you're able to create these mini engagements and these little boxes of, this is a story that happened to a user and we now have it in a clip and they shared it with the whole world because they were so excited. In addition to getting that negative feedback. And it's much easier and it's much more convenient, especially if you're on a social media a lot, to connect with companies. Like I said, as soon as that $5 fee comes on because I hit the wrong button or because, it was rush hour and I didn't want the rush hour and I was going to see if I could do a different time, they can get back to me right away. I also don't have to go to a second app. I don't have to go into my app and fill out a form and explain the situation. I just post on Twitter, hey, I got a cancellation fee and I shouldn't have. Can you please fix it? You're the bestest. And it's all better. And then I'm going to go into this one here with online chat. Just because online chat is one of my favorite ways. And then after this, I think we're all starting to get the pattern. I would make one of these for every single type of channel you can think of. I'll run through the next couple of slides to talk about the high level at the top, but online chat we'll go into, and then we'll go through the rest of those slides, and then we'll get to the next section. So online chat, complexity is low to medium. Okay. So I would say that really depends. Are you doing just standard chat? Are you doing omni-channel? Do you need skills-based routing? This is really keeping chat quite simple to be low to medium. And again, I would think of these as an R1 release type level. When you're working on the exam, they're not thinking about overall how complex could it get. It's more of a how complex, how little complexity could it have. So rather than thinking about how busy could you make it and what are all the add-ins you could add, think about it more so of what is the most streamlined implementation I could do for MVP? How complex is that setup? And then think about urgency. So I would say that again, this one it could be up to interpretation, but you don't want to think about it just from your point of view. I know that for me, if I go to chat, I have a high urgency situation because I did not go to Twitter. That means I need somebody to talk to me right now. But I'm not going to pick up a phone because I don't like to talk on the phone. That's not my style. So again, you want to think about this as people as a whole and not try to think about this, well, this generation would do this, but that generation do this, but my grandma would do this. Think about this as in if you had your grandma, your mom, yourself all in a room, would they think this is what would be the consensus of urgency? Efficiency. We all know that chat gets things done. I mean, they make a change, they can get back to you. You're in a real live conversation. You're not being let go and brought back later. So it's pretty efficient. And then availability. When you're chatting, you have to have a person on the other side. Notice that this doesn't say chat bots, but it says chat. And that is something else to keep in mind on the exam too. When you are reading, pay very close attention to where you see chat, where you see omni-channel, and where you see bots. If they are pointing out Einstein bots, think about Einstein bots. If they are pointing out chat, think about chat as in chat, previously known as live agent. Do not overcomplicate things for yourself. Take things at face value. The chat requires a person on the other side. So high availability, not entirely. In terms of cost, they're at a medium cost. You have to get chat licenses. To chat, every person has to have a license. And then in addition, you also have to keep in mind that you're now paying for them to have time. You would also think about the fact that would they be on the phone? Would this take away from phone time? And you'll notice that they call out the caveat. What did I just do? Oh, I switched the screen. That they call out some of those caveats. Each agent is handling multiple chats at a time. Ugh. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of that. If I found out that my person isn't giving me 100% of their attention, I'd be very frustrated. But I'm not going to know because they're going to be so good at the service they deliver. And then they're also going to be sharing the knowledge base articles back. You mentioned before, the knowledge base has high efficiency, high response, and it's really good for customers once they know how to find it and what it is. So that's why we're getting less callbacks. That's why the cost is lower. It's because they're not having to redo all that information. They're sharing something that already exists. Now, keep in mind, these are the points that Salesforce is thinking about for this exam. They think that chat is happening with multiple people at once. They think that your customer is getting knowledge articles back. And they also have as advantages. You're having less waiting time because you don't have to wait for a phone call that can only be one at a time. You can also set up chat to be auto accepted so you don't have to wait for someone to accept it. You can go through a predefined template, quick text, and make sure that people are able to get that text out that they say all the time. You can attach knowledge base articles to solve issues quickly. And this is a big one. And I know I brought this up on just the last one for some of the notes, but if you have articles that are frequently being shared, one thing you're going to want to do as an administrator, as a person, and this is less for the exam, but as somebody that's actually setting this up, make sure you're tracking how frequently each article is shared. That's going to give you a big heads up in terms of service. And then you'll also want to make sure that, you have different scenarios for online purchases and that there are real-time support channels available to your customers outside of phone. That's one thing that Salesforce really wants you to start thinking about with all of the new support items they have available within the exam. If you're on the exam thinking phone is the only option, you're not going to be able to get there and you're going to end up having some misses. But I would do the same thing with phone and I can fix that table. And again, paper. We all know paper is horrible. None of us want to kill the trees or the planet. But on top of that, it's a high cost, low availability, low urgency because it takes how long for snail mail? And yeah, it's just awful. But we have things like the legal documents that one customer has to send over because they need a wet signature. And they also couldn't fax it. But think about these things because things like paper come up on the exam as well. I wouldn't limit yourself to just the Salesforce products. Think about all of the scenarios out there. And I would also make a table for bots. See what else you can think of that can come in. And there's the new contact request option with flows, where you can have a customer contact request and see about put a table together and with those same values and have it compared to that where a customer's just asking for a callback. And then the next section, and one of the last sections of the industry knowledge for the exam, is for the customer service call center. So again, I was studying for this exam, as much as I kept hearing this term over and over and over, I still was like, I really still don't know 100% of what Salesforce wants me to be thinking of here. So breaking it down and to give it even more clarity, your customer service call center or your contact centers that Salesforce references them as well, they are anyone handling inbound calls or messages from customers, any kind of inquiry or request. And it could be online chat, they could be email. And I've made a list here of some of those items. You've got field service tracking, you have your installation or implementation, you have troubleshooting, you have tech support, you have any customer service related quests. You have your basic website assistance, where I can't find this, where do I find it? Where is the area where I check out the content that is on my Kindle? Um, I found this link one time to Amazon Pharmacy. Now I can't find it anymore. Um, Complaints about products or services. And try to keep this very basic. You know, don't start going down the rabbit hole of, well, what if we go into Health Cloud and we're starting to look at adverse? No, 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 no. They don't want you to go that way. They want you to stick strictly Service Cloud. Also, think about your products, billing, any type of inquiries that somebody such as yourself is going to call support for, or even would ask a friend and say, dude, I got this, but this is what's going on. Can you give me a hand? Or has your who's a what's it ever done this? And have them walk you through the steps. Or my computer just did this thing where it lit on fire. What are my next steps? All of these types of things are the types of calls that your customer contact center or your customer service call center end up getting. And they have a number of business drivers. These also come up on the exam. Finding out what is it that people are pushing towards, what are they trying to do, and what are their main, what are their main targets and goals. They want to increase customer satisfaction. That's why we were talking before about the fact that we're checking CSAT and your Net Promoter Score. They want to decrease the cost of service. That's why they track the cost of service. They want to reduce employee turnover. That's why they track employee turnover. Starting to see the pattern. And then increasing agent performance and productivity. This is pretty general across any type of organization. You'll always want to make sure that your agents are making top performance and productivity. And you also want to optimize your adherence to schedules and procedures. So we've all know that it's hard to get some of that training across, especially when you're trying to teach, that puppy that you've had for 10 years, how to do that new trick that you just saw on TV. Same thing goes with people. People don't want to learn how to do new stuff. We get stuck in our ways and it's very difficult. So working to find out what are those triggers, what are those items out there, that's what's going to help. When you have an internal call center, this comes up on the exam as well. So that's reaching out to your Salesforce admin, reaching out to IT, reaching out to ER. And then again, when you call IT because you got the blue screen of death or the spinning rainbow pinwheel. Exactly. That's when you're going to reach out to them. And what are the drivers in these situations? How are they different than when you have a customer reaching out? And again, so we talked about this only being 10%. You've got to remember exams, they're not just for you to pass and for you to get a passing certification. They're to help you make sure that you know a cloud, to have foundational knowledge and to keep going and to keep growing that knowledge. So knowing that you need to reduce your time and that you need to resolve issues, get that agent productivity, make sure agents are available, and reduce communication costs. And then how is your knowledge center? This is the last area of the exam for this section. So knowledge, like I said, everyone is, there are going to be other sections that bring up knowledge on this exam as well. This section for the industry knowledge is kind of a very high level area. It's more of a, why would you want a knowledge base? And what are the benefits of having knowledge versus not having knowledge? Well, you want a knowledge base so that you can do all those great things we just talked about, where you can increase your self-service, where you can decrease customer wait time, where you can have case deflection, where agent training can be reduced, where customers can have higher satisfaction because they were able to get the answer themselves and they didn't have to call, where they were able to resolve issues quickly and give a thumbs up to an article to say, this one fixed my problem, and find out which of your articles are working. You know, all of those little tiny things. And again, when you are studying, make this list of what are the reasons that you would want to have a knowledge base. What are the reasons, that you have had on prior projects for wanting to have a knowledge base? And then, take that and narrow it down to which of these compare to the metrics we talked about. And between the metrics, your channels, and then the knowledge, and then your contact centers, you should be able to take the first two sections and the second two sections and help the first half and the second half fill in each other's blanks. And it should help you go pretty deeply into the industry knowledge and answer your own questions. And for example, basic knowledge concepts, integration, the creation of content is to capture common questions and issues. This can be done internally or by customers. You're going to be able to get those frequently asked questions taken care of. And we all know we have things that are asked all the time over and over. How do I reset my password? Why admin string type questions? What are the principles of knowledge? Abundance. Knowledge should be shared. Oh my gosh, everyone should be sharing what they know. It's one of my favorite things to share is knowledge. If you could not tell by all of the stuff I keep signing up and volunteering for, I love to share knowledge. And Salesforce is a firm believer in that as well, hence knowledge basis. The quality of knowledge depends on the team size. Absolutely. So when you are working with knowledge, if you only have one person to write all of your articles and to do all the research, then to publish all your articles, you're not going to have as quality of articles as if every person that had a specialty put together their own articles, gave those to that person, and then pushed them out. So when Salesforce asks a question about, who should be writing knowledge articles, should one person be responsible for all stages of knowledge, or should there be a submission process for knowledge articles so that everyone can write about their specialty? Think about it logically. If one person's writing it, it's not going to be quality. If you have everyone writing about what they know best, you're going to get better answers and you're going to be able to better help customers. Create value. Like I said, knowledge is where I want to go first because I don't want to call support. And by having knowledge articles that were created via experienced representatives and how they helped a customer solve a problem in the past, that is going to give you a better knowledge article than somebody writing a knowledge article like out of the blue and just grabbing it out of the air. Demand driven. Again, interactions with customers. You'll start to see that these are going to start relating to customers and what your customers have done and not just doing something randomly. And then trust. You need to have trust with these articles, which means as things change in products, they need to be updated. During the exam, if you're asked, how frequently should articles be updated, or can we write articles and leave them forever? It probably won't be that obvious of a question, but along those lines, know that knowledge is something that has to keep growing and keep learning. Just like we have to keep growing our knowledge base has to keep growing. It's not one and done. So keeping that in mind. And then, I know it's a lot of information, and I know I've gone through a handful of different items, but big things that I wanted to go over, and I'm going to go back to that agenda slide. So we have our industry knowledge areas, which were the contact center metrics, KPIs, and business challenges, which I've put those tables into this deck to help give you a little bit of a head start and start working with those. Then also the different interaction channels, and I've started filling in a few of those tables, but I recommend that while you're studying, you take those to the next level and add a few more and make sure that you fully understand, what are those main data points for each one of the interaction channels. And then also, know what your different contact centers are: internal contact center, external contact center, your help desk, uh, your knowledge base. And then what are the benefits in knowledge? How does knowledge help you as a company? And how does it help your customers? All right. I know it's a lot. It's a lot like drinking from the fire hose, but questions?
Thank you, Megan, for such an insightful session. We do have certain questions. The first one is the industry knowledge applicable across industries like health insurance and so on to set up service call center? Any specific
I
basic?
I would say absolutely. Yeah. So I have worked on Service Cloud projects, and I've worked on Salesforce projects in Health Cloud and Manufacturing Cloud, and number of other clouds. And those types of things, when you are working in Service Cloud for those industries, it comes up all the time. Field Service, Health Cloud, each one of them have those same types of pain points. It's just that what they're working with for their customers is different, but it still applies. Yeah.
I think that answers the question. We also have a out of the contest question. Which programming language is required in Salesforce for coding? Um, Megan, are you there?
Oh, is it me or is it a challenge question? Sorry.
Yeah, so there's a question by
Oh,
Srishti.
yeah.
She's saying which programming language is required in Salesforce for coding.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So yeah, so there is so for your back end language, you'll have Apex, and then for your front end UI UX, you can use Aura, which is the previous Lightning, or you can use the Lightning Web Components, which are based on JavaScript.
Thank you, Megan. There's one more question. Can knowledge article be used in all the Service Cloud channels?
Yeah, so you can use them with customers, partners, public, or internally. And you can have your knowledge base set with each article based on, which article it is to be different visibility. So if I had one article that was for customers, one that was internal only, that were public, and some that were partner only. So you can have them varied.
That's good. Thank you, Megan, for there's one more question.
Yeah.
For it is out of the contest again. For getting Salesforce job, is it mandatory to hold one Salesforce certification?
So, that's a good question, and I would say that a lot of companies do say that they want you to be certified to work with them. However, if you have experience, if you have a drive and an eagerness to learn and to help and to keep going and to just be there and to do whatever you have to keep going in Salesforce, I have seen that passion win over certifications time after time. And, probably 90% of the time, passion will be certifications from what I have seen in my experience. If you truly have a drive and a love for Salesforce and it shows, they will pick that over, just a cert. Yeah.
Yes, rightly said. You need to have the drive for the Salesforce. Yeah. The next question is, what are the key metrics you can identify from a knowledge article?
Yeah, so there are a handful of different things you can look at for knowledge. You can see how many times was that knowledge article, used with a case that was attached to a case. How many times was it sent out? How many times did somebody in a community give it a thumbs up? There are a handful of items to look at, and there's also a reports and dashboards package that is free on the App Exchange from Salesforce Labs for knowledge. And I can put that link into the back of my deck on a fresh slide so that you guys can have that too.
That answers the question. Thank you again, Megan, for accepting my invite. Okay, there's one more question. What is
Yeah.
a console and best way to design?
Oh, so I love the console. So I'm actually let me pull that up. I'll show you. So the console versus, regular Salesforce. It's just a different view, and I'm going to share my screen here so you all can see it. And we'll jump into my dev org and take a look. It's going to be this one here with my login. All right. And let's go into, let's go into the Megan Rocks org. So the console lets you work on a record, but open these sub tabs underneath. And it's very convenient, especially for service users, just to be able to hop around and to be able to see those multiple records. And I'll give you a look right now. One thing to keep in mind, though, is don't overcomplicate it. I've seen a lot of console situations where it's been set up and it's just, what are they supposed to be doing here? And then also make sure you're taking advantage of your utility bar. So let's go to the Make Believe console in my dev org here. So we'll go to the sample console in this one. Oh, this is the bad one. Hold on, I'm gonna go to the other org. I'm sorry, don't hate me. But there's just so much to think about, and it's really about making sure they have exactly what they need in front of them. Don't be giving them objects they don't need to see. Don't be adding the excessive views or unnecessary information for list views that shouldn't be shared with those users. You wouldn't believe how many times I have gone into orgs and every list view is set to public with everyone versus being set up to be shared with who actually needed it. And it's console, here we go. I'm going to do this one. And sorry for the little mini demo. Gotta love live demos. Let's go away, walk through. Open, there we go. All right, so we're switching in. And you'll notice, by the way, that the preview orgs have been updated to winter.
To interrupt, Megan. Your screen is kind of stuck.
It should have just switched.
No.
If not, I can reshare. Okay, I'm gonna reshare, hold on. Let's go and do this one again because I just got the console up. And this one. All right, what about now? Oh, wait, that's the old tab, hold on, switch it back. Don't hate me. Sorry, too many Salesforce is open. It's this one with the calendar. There we go. All right, can you see it now? Anyone?
Now.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So you'll notice here in the console that obviously this is dev org where I play, so I have a ton of stuff in here. But I really wanted to show the true advantage of console is when you go into a record, you're able to have the little spinny wheel of death from lightning. But once you go into one of these, let's usually pull up this, whatever this is. All right, so you'll notice down here, for example, I have my omni-channel for my chat. I have next best action. And I'm going to go to an account so that we can see how that works with other records, because you're able to open those related records, which is the big win. So we have edge communications, and you're actually able to see decide which ones get to have those related records too. So if I go here and I go to related contacts, this one do it. Yeah, edge communication stays open, but I now have the contact next to it. So I can keep all of those related records open, but still tied under this one tab. And especially as you're hopping around to do research on cases to find out, is it their provisioning record? Is it, their deployment record? Is it over here in this prior case? It ends up being really helpful for them to be able to not lose that case and not have to keep opening tab after tab after tab. They can also move on to the next record. You'll notice I have multiple tabs open up here without having to close that previous record, so they can jump back to it later. Definitely a big win. In addition to having their chat down below, having their actions down below if needed, setting up flows, having macros to do automated actions, and having quick text available. So making sure that it's limited to what they just need, making sure that it's streamlined and not as busy as a dev org would have, but also making sure that, they they have that visibility and they're not stuck doing, new tab, new tab, new tab, and only see the objects they need to see too. A lot of people end up having every single object in every single application. Streamline that for your representatives and help them narrow it down so they're not getting bogged down by too much stuff. And if you have a poor load time, rather than have your related list listed, have that related list quick links, and that can help your Lightning pages load in about a quarter of the time, by the way. So if you have really large related lists, that's a big win too. Just while we're here and I was looking at the related list. Yeah.
Megan, for that. We do have one more question. Knowledge
Yeah.
article management related. How this can be monitored to ensure relevant articles published and no other articles like archived yet to be published shows up.
Yeah, so one of the great ways to keep track of those is using an approval process, and you make sure that you're using the proper criteria, but also limiting, if you don't want to use an approval, making sure that you have limits on what can be, you have like a validation rule that says this cannot be moved to published until XYZ happens, or just limit access to the publish field. Little things like that can make it so much easier. People outside of, people can't see records unless they're published unless they have the knowledge license. So if you leave it as a draft or archived, they're not going to see it. But if you have it listed as published, but you want to limit some of the other ways to access, making sure that the right channels get clicked, making sure that the right people have looked it over first before it's moved to published, either having some sort of validation or an approval process in there, definitely helpful. In, I know in classic knowledge, there was some built-in items. I haven't had enough time to dig into the approval validation statuses with Lightning knowledge yet, but I should have some options for you about what is out of the box by the end of my next project here. I just didn't have the whole 14 years of experience with them that I did have with the prior knowledge, so sorry. But I'll get you some soon.
Yes. So we do have one question: how to prepare for Salesforce accredited professional exam?
So I actually haven't taken the accredited professional exam. Have either of you, ladies?
No, not yet, but yes,
Okay.
I'm planning to have one.
So I would assume the same way that you would prepare for your other exams. Take your exam guide, take your trail mix, find a study buddy, and just make sure that you have gone through it, that you truly understand the criteria and the information. That you do have it's not just the information in the guide that you understand, but it's the information as a whole that you understand it more than memorization, and it's actually understanding versus memorizing. And then, yeah, do a couple of mock exams and go for it.
You just need to be, well prepared for the topic, I feel. Yeah, so the next question is, so all these metrics related to knowledge article available as out of the box feature in Salesforce, or do we have to build our custom solutions?
So, a number of them are, but for the items that were listed here, I do have an application. It's an unmanaged package that I've created that has all of them. So I'll also make sure that there is a link to that is on the deck as well for you all.
Yes. So there's a question by Parvati. I have a couple of years of experience in Sales Cloud, but not in Service Cloud. Yet, any inputs on how to get hands-on as a beginner?
Yeah. So honestly, one of my favorite things to do for learning Salesforce is to jump into my dev org and try to break stuff. So that first dev org we jumped into, I have had that dev org for over 10 years, which is why things are so hinky and weird in it. There's stuff I can't even turn on because I have done so much in there that it's made it so that we can't turn on new features. But for me, I'm a very hands-on learner. What I like to do is to go in, and I recommend this to the people that I mentor, is to go into Trailhead, but don't stop at Trailhead. After you go through the module, challenge yourself to say, all right, I now see what this trailhead module did. Now I want to apply this to a business scenario or something that I thought of or something at my work. And I'm going to build that out so that I can get a new scenario going or challenge myself. I mean, Trailhead is great, but it's just that one example. So take it to the next level and push it forward by going, what else can I do further with a real life example you understand? I especially like doing that with flows. I find that extremely fun. And one of the really great things about Service Cloud is inside of setup. When you go to the service setup, there is the getting started and paths for setting up a number of these Service Cloud items. And they will actually get you on the trail going forward for how to set up the majority of the things such as chat, omni-channel, getting started with knowledge so that you can go forward and start, setting those up without having to know for yourself every single item. And again, those are in the service setup and they're right there on the home page.
Yes. So there's one more question by Sanjay. Service Cloud live chat versus omni-channel. Is there any difference?
There is. So, and I was actually just working on this too. So one thing with omni-channel that you have is you have skills-based routing. That is not available in just the standard chat. And so it's definitely a difference there too. And then also with the way that you are setting up your actual chat and your agents. So when it comes down to the configuration and working with, well, I just lost my train of thought. Give me 1 second, I got it back. So for chat versus omni-channel, for chat, you have the buttons and you have the pop-up. And for the omni-channel, you have the routing option with the button of going to either queue, you can do queues or you can do skills. You also have within the console that you can use the chat, and within omni-channel, there is some funkiness, or there are limits with that one. There's the omni-channel widget, which is not a chat widget. There's the omni-channel widget. There are also, with the bots, it starts to come into play as well. Chats can't be prioritized, but Omni can be prioritized. And then supervisors. Yeah, so the supervisor panel and what the supervisors can do. Yeah.
Question. So in live chat, that can be transferred to other agent.
So you can transfer, yeah.
So yeah, there's a push timeout feature that automatically transfers it to the other agent if the agent is not available, right?
Correct, yeah. And you can also transfer manually, but you
Yes.
cannot transfer based on skills. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, there's one more question. For integration with any social media platform with Service Cloud, I have seen some macro we need to run. Why that is needed? Can that be done with out of the box feature of Salesforce?
For the so there are the in Salesforce macros. And so macros are items that are you set them up to be an action that somebody can run without having to click all of the manual steps. And they can be done within Salesforce, and they are done within Salesforce. There is actually a great trailhead on macros as well. Let me grab you that link. And yeah, they're awesome actually. And you have two types of macros. There is the standard macro that does it on one record, and there's also a bulk macro. The one that is for a trailhead that they go through, they do one with quick text, which helps you get, throw the same text on and have it send, which is nice. I mean, if you're saying the same thing over and over. But I mean, when you're working with a number of records and you need to have a mass action across the board, It definitely helps to be able to do that, but just be careful when you are working in mass actions, because of the fact that it's doing something to every single one of those records that you're working with, and it's actually a specific permission, and some of them cannot be undone. Yeah, they're irreversible macros. That's what they call them. Yeah.
Thank you, Megan. So
Yeah.
thank you again for accepting my invite, and thank you for such an insightful session. Um, Zakam, we are not planning quiz sessions like Kahoot for the boot camp, because this boot camp is designed, more for learning. We do have takeaways or giveaways for you guys. As I have mentioned earlier, you need to post out or post a video of yourself stating whatever the key takeaways you took from the session. Also, we do have a online question session kind of thing, which will be run just after the event. I'll be posting 3 to 4 questions over Salesforce, but LinkedIn and Twitter group pages, so you can participate over there and win awesome kits that are designed by Appians and me. Stay tuned. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Piyusha. Megan, we would love to see you on camera and click a screenshot, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. And thank you again for the invite. There's my little slidey thing. Thank you again for the invite. I'm so excited to be here. I really appreciate it.
No worries.
Yep.
You look always pretty.
Well, thank you
It
so
just
much
slows
for
it down when I'm doing my screen share.
session.
So cheese, guys, you need to do something.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, everyone, for
thank
this
you all.
lovely
Thank you all.
session.
This was fantastic.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. So, guys, stay tuned over LinkedIn and LinkedIn Twitter pages of Salesforce Wit. The questions are gonna be up within seconds, so don't miss out this chance to win awesome swags and vouchers.
Thank you all so much for attending, and thank you again for the invite.
Thank you, Megan. It means a lot to me. I hope I see you soon.
I didn't mean to leave while you were talking. Sorry.
No worries. I was just saying I hope to see you soon in other boot camps as
For
we have
sure.
planned.
Yeah, no, this was awesome. And yeah, I really appreciate the invite, and everybody was so fantastic, and I loved all the questions. So yeah, thank you. And I'll add those resources to my deck for you. Yeah.
Yes, I would share them. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.